Hi, my name is Margee Kerr. I'm a sociologist and author of the book Scream: Chilling Adventures in the Science of Fear.
I've got a scary good question to begin with, because there is this catchphrase of the culture of fear. What is the culture of fear? How do you define that?
Well, it describes today's culture in the US, and it's a culture where most media is following the if it bleeds, it leads mentality. So knowing that everything that is going to capture our threat response that's going to be fear inciting is desirable to use in media because it'll sell papers, it'll promote links, it'll get viewers to your content if it's scary. And that's because we do have a negativity bias. So for example, if you show someone a picture of flowers or a picture of an exploding car, we're going to look at the exploding car first and look at it longer because that's scary and potentially threatening, and we want to pay attention to things that could potentially hurt us. But that's really problematic when it comes to consuming news and information. So if we see that image and we're frightened, we're going to pay attention, we're going to keep watching, but we're also not going to be able to do anything about it. And that's problematic in that it's leading us to live in a greater state of stress, of anxiety. We're worried about all of these things that we have very little control over.
Well, when did the culture of fear begin? Because I grew up in the 80s, and during this peak Cold War era where a lot of people were talking about the breakdown of the nuclear family, and then along those same times it was the satanic panic, there were the trick-or-treat panics, about candies, razors in apples and tainted candy. And then also along with that, there was sort of the beginning of the 24-hour news cycle where there had to be more content to fill the airwaves.
Right.
Was that sort of the beginning, the mid-'80s, of the culture of fear, or was it before?
It is the greater speed of information and access to information that is created the beast that we are in now. And I remember the 80s too. You couldn't turn on the TV without hearing a PSA on something. And I remember waiting with my sister as my mom looked through all the candy and searched for the razor blades. And all of that was based on just one case. I mean, it was nothing. It was nothing that any of us really should have been concerned with. I mean, you want to be smart, but the extent that it was taken to was just based on, trying to sell papers, trying to get viewers, trying to get attention, and it worked. And you ended up with kids who had to be patient and couldn't eat their candy, or terrified of strangers. The stranger danger was a huge thing. Meanwhile, most abuse, most threats to kids happen from someone they know, not strangers. And all of this, really just was part of this growing beast of let's just scare the hell out of people, and we'll get the eyes on the TV and the views.
So what is the healthy way to process fear and get over it, I guess?
It's accepting that there are going to be things that you don't know, and there are going to be things that are unknowable and that might hurt you. And when you accept that that might be a reality, you can think about it more rationally and logically, and kind of lean back on your knowledge, by educating yourself. That's, the way to do it in the real world, but it's also what makes horror movies fun, is that anticipation. The fun, a lot of the fun with fear is in the anticipation. Hitchcock was such a master at this, and he knew that once the bomb goes off, the story's over. Once you see the monster, depending on the horror movie, because we've seen some really good monsters, but that's when kind of you relax, because you know what you're fighting, you know what is in front of you. But before, all of that nervous anticipation in the right space can feel exciting, but in real life, we don't want to have that. And so that's when it does come to accepting that, okay, there are some things that are going to be beyond my control, and I'm okay with that because I know that I'll be able to handle whatever comes my way. So it does require building a sense of confidence in just your ability to navigate uncertainty and just be comfortable with not knowing.
Well, we've been talking about the science of fear, covering so many topics within that, but I'm not going to let you off the hook. Margee Kerr, what are you afraid of?
Oh gosh, I'm afraid that we are actually living in a simulation right now, and none of this is really happening. This is all just a dream. I mean, how do we know? It could be.
I would hope that you'd be able to conjure something cooler than this to interview you.
No, this is awesome. I mean, this would be a good simulation, but that means that there could be multiple versions of this simulation, and you know, yeah, my mind, it works in very evil ways, so I won't tell you all the places that could go. But we are in a prison, and you know, once you start getting down that simulation road, it gets pretty scary.